2018 in WWE was a trip, people. The arrival of Saudi shows, the return of the Heartbreak Kid, shoot punches in matches, and even the longest damn contest in company history. A lot went down, and a lot of it was utterly fascinating. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WWE in 2018. Number 10, Brock Lesnar punched Braun Strowman for real. Pow! Braun Strowman would come to regret accidentally cracking Brock Lesnar with a knee during the pair's three-way match with Kane at the 2018 Royal Rumble. Braun battered Brock in the side of the head, so Lesnar, never one to shy away from such things, responded by punching Strowman full force back. I mean, I can still feel it and I didn't even get hit. During interviews after the fact, Braun jokingly remarked that he was chuffed he hadn't been knocked out. And you can see here in this image the exact moment that Lesnar decided that a knuckle-shaped receipt was coming Strowman's way for that errant knee to the noggin. Look at his face. That was the kind of thing fans expected from UFC, not WWE. Brock laid it right in. Meanwhile, Kane was just probably like, I am staying the hell out of this. Thankfully, things didn't break down any further. Braun took the receipt and everyone just moved on. Strowman would later say that it was just two big alpha males doing alpha male things. Quite, but wrestlers are not exactly supposed to get this shooty during major PLE matches. But I will not be telling them that. Number 9, Royal Rumble made WWE history. Shinsuke Nakamura was a surprise Rumble winner when he danced around gleefully and pointed at the big neon WrestleMania 34 sign in 2018. Fans in attendance were thrilled to see the Japanese star get the big win though. He was the first former NXT champion to win the famous match type. This was a landmark moment for the third brand. It had always had a love-hate kind of relationship with the main roster, but now one of their top stars had arrived on Raw/SmackDown with aplomb. Not only that, but he'd won the Rumble and was now going to WrestleMania. He was living the dream. Shin had won the NXT belt a mere 4 months after his WWE debut, and then won the Rumble just 9 months after first popping up on the main roster following WrestleMania 33. And this was obviously the most fruitful period of his entire career in the promotion. It was class stuff. If only they kept pushing him like this after Mania 34, eh? What do you think's the best Royal Rumble of all time? Is it the 2018 one, or is it another? You let me know in the comments section right down below, baby. Number 8, Ronda Rousey wore Roddy Piper's jacket. WWE's announcers spoke freely about Ronda Rousey's friendship with Hot Rod, but she was literally wearing Roddy Piper's leather jacket during her sign-pointing debut at the 2018 Rumble. It's true, people. Roddy's son, Colton, let Rousey borrow his dad's jacket for select appearances. And that didn't exactly sit well with some grumblers online. The jury was very much still out on just how dedicated Rousey would be to pro wrestling, but all the doubters were temporarily silenced when she entered a stunning debut performance at Mania 34. That tag team match with Kurt Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon might be the best mixed tag of all time? Ever? Yeah, probably. It was seriously good stuff, that. But alas, the good vibes could not last long for Rousey and wrestling fans. The fact she'd been rocking Roddy's jacket and borrowed his Rowdy nickname came back up in convo when Ronda began badmouthing fans the next year. Hardly anybody was talking about the physical jacket at the 2018 Rumble, mind. That all gave way to the hysteria surrounding Rousey in WWE. It's easy to forget sometimes just how massive a moment all that really was. She was a star. Number 7, why the Fabulous Muler branding was dropped. Ronda Rousey's debut in WWE was greeted as a step forward for the women's division. But if anything, what we're about to talk about was a pesky step back. WWE originally named WrestleMania 34's pre-show Women's Battle Royal in honor of the Fabulous Muler. But there was significant backlash against that due to Muler's past behavior. She'd reportedly treated many female workers very badly over the years, so Top Brass quietly shelved the branding and went with the much less grandiose WrestleMania Women's Battle Royale instead. That was for the best, to be honest, because some show sponsors, including Mars, had expressed concerns too. It would have been unnecessary to stubbornly plow ahead and tout Muler when there was so much riding on Mania. Besides, without being cruel, the Women's Battle Royal was also never really a priority here. Allegations of abuse and serious issues of the sort don't exactly jive with WrestleMania's gleaming presentation, so the Muler branding just had to go, and it was a wise move. Number 6, Aiden English's quirky WWE first. This is so odd, but it's the kind of quirky fact that definitely belongs on this list. Aiden English worked the pre-show Battle Royal at Mania 34 with long hair. Then, by the time he was accompanying Rusev to ringside for the United States title 4-way on the main card, the ex-Vaude villain sported a shaven head. That is quite the quick cut, Mr. English. This made Aiden the first guy to sport two distinctly different hairdos on the same pay-per-view. Hell of a record. Other than anyone working a hair versus hair match, of course. But that doesn't really count because the chop is expected there, isn't it? English going from long locks to Jason Statham on the same card certainly was not. A strong look though, I will say. It's actually a slight shock that WWE let this happen. Drastic image changes are typically mapped out in advance due to things like action figures, video games, that kind of stuff. But there is a chance that English just didn't make a big deal out of it and sneakily hit the barber chair backstage. Or maybe he just quickly got permission before pulling out the clippers. Who knows, but either way, English made history here. Thanks for dropping by to watch this What Culture Wrestling video today, you lovely person you. Now tap that subscribe button down below and you will get more of these fascinating videos on your YouTube machine. Number 5, AJ Styles felt expectations were too high. Wrestling fans were bristling with excitement when WWE announced AJ Styles versus Rumble winner Shinsuke Nakamura for Mania 34. Overnight, even casual supporters suddenly became hardcore Japanese wrestling enthusiasts. A lot of folks were talking about AJ versus Nakamura from New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 10 in 2016. It was a hot topic heading into WrestleMania. But Styles thought that all this was actually a bit of a problem. He eventually decided to shoot on his own WrestleMania 34 match during a podcast with Corey Graves in 2020. There, AJ said that WWE had set expectation levels for the bouts versus Shinsuke Nakamura way too high, and pointed out that their Kingdom Classic wouldn't have worked in a WWE context anyway, because the Japanese crowd elevated it. The Phenomenal One was clearly disappointed with how things turned out, and felt the pressure of topping what had come before. Both he and Shinsuke realized they'd have to tweak the formula in front of WWE's fanbase, and neither thought they could do that without changing too much from the original. Unfortunately, most people just remember this as the match which kicked off Nakamura's ball-whacking era. How could we forget? Number 4, 2018 had the longest WWE TV match ever. Fans are comparatively spoiled in the modern era compared to what WWE served up on weekly TV in-ring before. Raw's early years were squash match heavy, and the Attitude Era wasn't exactly known for bell-to-bell epics on free TV either. Nowadays, though, people witness lengthy scorchers every single week, and it was the same in 2018. The 19th of February 2018 Raw opened with an epic 7-man gauntlet match starring Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Elias, Finn Balor, The Miz, and Braun Strowman. And get this, it went 1 hour, 13 minutes, 26 seconds without commercial breaks, and a whopping 1 hour, 46 minutes, 55 seconds with ad breaks included. Yep, that is 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 55 seconds, I just said. It's feature-length stuff. Special praise must be reserved for Seth Rollins. He worked the longest stretch at the start versus Roman, Cena, and Elias before bowing out, and that definitely served the workhorse vibes that Seth was giving off at the time. And this is still, right now at time of recording, the longest single free TV match in company history, for now. Number 3, WWE ribbed Undertaker at WrestleMania 34. The Undertaker was feeling pretty damn embarrassed about his wobbly performance versus Roman Reigns at Mania 33. So, for the following year's dance, the legend trained hard for a quote-unquote 45-minute war opposite John Cena that would tear the house down. The dead man was steely and determined heading to New Orleans. When he arrived at the building, though, Vince McMahon called Taker in for a quick meeting. That's when the boss informed one of his prized possessions that he'd be working a short squash instead. The Undertaker was not best pleased. He trained relentlessly and was determined to make up for a personally embarrassing performance the previous year. According to Taker on Chris Van Vliet's Insight show a few years later, McMahon found it so funny that he'd pulled a fast one on him. The icon even referenced all of this during his WWE-produced docuseries afterwards. He trained for months to make up for Mania 33, but he would not get the chance. Imagine ribbing The Undertaker at WrestleMania. No respect for the business. Number 2, everyone hated HBK's comeback match. No one was laughing after Crown Jewel 2018, I can tell you that much. The DX versus Brothers of Destruction tag marked Shawn Michaels' first match in over 8 years, and it was an absolute stinker. Hell, HBK, Triple H, Kane, and The Undertaker would all be forced to acknowledge that their trip to Saudi Arabia was an outright disaster piece that'd be tough to swallow going forwards. It was that bad. Trips tore his pec, Kane's wig/mask flew off, everyone botched some spots, and the whole affair was a miserable return to action for old Shawn. You know, one of the best to ever do it, and the guy who had ended his iconic career with back-to-back WrestleMania classics versus fellow old warhorse Taker. In retrospect, Michaels should have probably picked AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan as a comeback opponent, but his head was turned by the oodles of cash on tap for agreeing to the Saudi bout. It was definitely a mistake, and one that ended Shawn's in-ring marathon with a limp. Yuck. And number 1, Saudi royalty wanted Dead WWE Stars. A bizarre tidbit to emerge from an ugly deal. WWE Saudi Arabia paymasters apparently demanded names like the Ultimate Warrior and Yokozuna for early shows after signing the 10-year contract. And of course, both of those guys had passed on years before, so that just wasn't really possible. Though many would speculate with cause that the inclusion of total unknown Hiroki Sumi in the titular Greatest Royal Rumble was an attempt to replicate Yoko's magic, alongside various other mammoth wrestlers getting a one-off shot in the contest, and Titus O'Neil sliding across the floor before he slid into the ring. This story was yet another distraction from the real story at play here. WWE's multi-million-dollar Vision 2030 deal was a sign of things to come across the world, regardless of countless ethical protests. Have you enjoyed this fascinating look at 2018 in WWE? We'll go and tap on this other fascinating facts list right here for more of these interesting details about the wacky world of WWE.